Okay. I'd like to welcome everyone to the 65th meeting of the 7th Council of the Municipality of South Dundas. Before I call it to order, I have a live stream disclaimer. We are excited to bring our meetings to you live online. This is a new technology to us in South Dundas, and we appreciate your patience as we iron out the process moving forward. If for any reason we experience technical difficulties on the live stream, we will do our best to get the video to you the following day. And before I go on, council is meeting in chambers at physically distancing spacing. Staff will only come in during their reports, and there is no audience tonight because of the restrictions that we are following. So I call this meeting to order and confirmation of agenda. Tonight we're going to delete the OPP delegation that you have at 6A, and an amendment in the 9G will be going to discussion items. Just checking to see which is 10K. And two items that were on discussion items will be moving to our committee of the whole meeting, which will be this Thursday morning on August the 8th. And they are the short-term rentals discussion and the cannabis zoning regulations discussion. We feel that council will have a better opportunity to have a good discussion on them this Thursday morning instead of this evening. Is there any additions, deletions, or amendments from any members of council? Seeing none, any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof?
Sure, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sorry.
We needed to add under discussion also the tower rehab.
Yes, we do. Okay, so we'll make that,
I think it's J.
it's there already, so, okay. It's in my agenda, sorry, it's not added to the official agenda. Okay. Adoption of minutes, please.
Moved by Councillor Mallon, second by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that the 62nd, 63rd, and in-camera meetings of the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas be adopted as circulated.
Any discussions or issues? Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Move into the public meeting, please.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, second by Councillor Wells, that the public meeting to consider zoning bylaw amendments be opened at 6:02 p.m.
All heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Who will be doing the public meeting tonight?
Tim Chatter, J.L. Richards, there will be Tim Chatter, and Aaron Reed will represent them.
Okay.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can. Welcome. Or we can.
Well, hi. So my name's Erin, and I'm a planner with JL Richards & Associates, working on behalf of the township. We received an application from Brad Barrett and Robin Stevens, who've applied for a zoning bylaw amendment to permit a standalone garage as the primary use on their lot, which is located in the hamlet of Haynesville, and it is zoned residential hamlet. They intend to construct a single detached dwelling within the next 3 years. It's recommended that council approve the amendment to rezone the subject property from residential hamlet to residential hamlet temporary use 1, which will permit the standalone garage as the primary use for 3 years. The planning department has no concerns regarding the impacts of the proposed use.
Okay, thank you. Any concerns, questions, or issues for council on this zoning bylaw amendment?
No.
Seeing none.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, second by Councillor Mallon, that the public meeting to consider zoning 6:04 p.m.
All heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to 7, action request. 7A is CAO 2020-12, Iroquois Storm Culvert Relining Additional.
Moved by Counselor Wells, second by Counselor Mellon, that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas accept report CAO 2020-12 to award the additional storm culvert relining in Iroquois to Aqua Drain Sewer Services, Inc. for a total of $154,262 plus HST.
Shannon?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this is a follow-up to our August 10th report, in which at that time we looked at doing some culvert relining in Iroquois. At that time, we wanted to wait until all the additional projects came in so that we would know the current costing for it. At this time, all the projects have been tendered. There is some savings, and we're proposing that the additional culvert work get completed. At that time, there'll be some additional funding that will be left over that will do some more CCTV work that was stopped due to COVID, and finish up the work in spring of 2021 so that we can complete the final report for Infrastructure Canada and the province. So as council will recall, there is no budget cost to the municipality. It's the additional funding we had left over from the province and the feds. So, any questions? I'll be more than happy to answer.
Deputy Mayor Gardner, any?
No questions.
Council Lewis?
No questions.
Council Mellon? Council Wells?
No questions.
Okay. Seeing none, have all heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We're moving on to bylaws. First one is 2020-86, the Devlin Municipal Drain.
Moved by Counselor Mellon, second by Counselor Lewis, that bylaw number 2020-86, being a bylaw to assess the maintenance costs of the Devlin Municipal Drain, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Sean, anyone?
You on, Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
This bylaw is to assess the costs of the Devlin Municipal Drain, which was maintained in two phases in 2012 and 13 and 2017 and 18. The accumulated costs of the project were $137,480.65. Agricultural Drainage Infrastructure Program grants totaling $36,830.67 have been received from the province of Ontario, leaving the amount to be assessed out at $113,055.80. Council may recall that there's been some $56,470 expense to the tax rate for the Devlin Drain branches due to the lack of clarity in the report, in the engineer's report, and also some issues with contractor invoicing. 12 properties with an aggregate assessment of less than $12 will not be invoiced, and the total amount of those properties is $78.94. Thank you.
Any comments, questions, concerns from council on this bylaw? Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next one is 2020-87, lockout, tagout policy bylaw.
Moved by Counselor Lewis, second by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that bylaw number 2020-87, being a bylaw to establish a corporate lockout tagout policy, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Danielle?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So in front of you tonight is the corporate lockout tagout policy. Basically what this policy looks at is locking out devices that may at any time release any energy or activate and release any energy that could harm staff. I can take any questions if there are any.
Any comments, questions, concerns?
Yes,
Councilor Wells?
Danielle, I have some. This here, is this being, like, we have to do this lockout procedure? Like, I know, like, I read the whole, report and everything here. And it's quite extensive, like the way, like, we're locking out everything. It seems like a lot of extra work. I know safety does come into play, but most lockout policy pertains to if it's electrical and stuff. But now, the way I'm taking this report, like, pretty much every vehicle, truck, everything will be locked out, and there'll be, like, equipment and stuff. Like, there's a lot of procedural stuff that has to be done prior to using this stuff. Is that the way I'm seeing everything on this report?
Yes, so through you, Mr. Mayor, this report looks at every single device that could affect a municipal worker by releasing energy. So that includes vehicles, small engine devices like lawnmowers or tractors, shovels, etc. So this applies to the entire corporation.
I just, like, I do believe in safety, but this policy here is, personally, to my belief, I think it's like a little bit over the top, like to as far as, what everything's mentioned in here. I think by the end of the day, if we go and start a job, that probably take 3/4 of the day, get everything unlocked and follow all the procedures and forms that we have to fill out. That's just my take on it. I'll let it go around the table and see what happens.
Council Mellon, any comment?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Byvelds. I do somewhat agree with Councilor Wells on this. It seems a lot over the top. I realize safety is an important issue, and I can see it with a piece of equipment, if you will, if there's more than one individual around it, to make sure, you know, it's safe. What will be the cost of this? If we have to start putting out, I don't know, is lockouts on vehicles, is there an estimate of what kind of cost we're talking here?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, there would be there's no additional cost necessarily to the corporation because a lockout device is specific. You could use any type of lock as long as it has information as to why that machine is off. Then you could simply attach a tag to a piece of equipment that could accidentally release energy, and that would provide enough information. We have purchased lockout boxes for the municipal works yard, the arena, and a couple other facilities, and it didn't cost us anything extravagant. It is part of the health and safety policy, and I do believe it's part of OSHA, so Ontario Health and Safety Act, that we have something like this in place.
Okay, if it's mandatory, I guess. That's all, Mayor Byvelds.
Council Lewis?
I read your report, Danielle. As a matter of fact, I read it twice, and whenever I was working, I have used lockouts myself in the arena itself. It is a health and safety issue, and I really don't see an issue with this report whatsoever.
Deputy Mayor Gardner?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Danielle. I'm familiar with additional steps that need to be taken around the lockouts and also just health and safety in general. And while it can be, to Councillor Wells' point, seen as an obstruction, it can also, upon reflection, be something that we wish we would have done. So I think legally we have no choice to do it, but it's necessary and it's just part of it. And the health and safety is important of our staff. So thank you.
Anything further, Councilor Wells?
Just one statement you made, Danielle, about you said about you believe it's for the law, like you didn't actually, is there documentation stating that we have to do all this procedure? Like, I mean, like I said, I believe in lockouts. You go to a 400 amp service or blah, blah, blah. But is everything on your report, like right down to, well, there's so many there, I can't, like, we're hydraulics and everything that you're locking out. So I just wonder if we can fine tune this, or I guess like everyone's going here, it is about safety, but I just think we could shorten this a bit on some stuff, but at the end of the day, I'm for the lockout, but like I said, I think we could fine tune it a bit to some degree, but I'm good with it. Thank you.
So to you, Mr. Mayor, if I could just offer an explanation as to why it's so thorough. So the arena, specifically the chiller, does need a thorough lockout tagout procedure due to issues with chillers in other arenas that have led to employee deaths. So the TSSA actually brought this to our attention, and if we did not have a thorough lockout tagout procedure in place, we wouldn't have been able to open the arena this year. So that is why this procedure is so thorough, because it has to meet specific TSSA regulations. As for other departments, I would think that they would use this procedure and apply it where applicable, and hopefully dwindle it down for their own purposes.
Okay, thank you, Danielle.
Anything further, Council Mellon?
No,
Okay, nothing here. Okay, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next one's 2020-88 zoning bylaw housekeeping.
Moved by Counselor Wells, second by Counselor Lewis, that bylaw number 2020-88 being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 2010-48 be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Who's speaking to this?
The Aaron?
Me, Aaron? Okay, Aaron, please.
Aaron or Tim?
Or Tim?
Is Tim on there?
I don't see Tim.
Aaron, are you there still? I think she's still there.
Oh.
It's Tim, I can do this one for Rob.
Welcome, Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you want to refer to the document that we've got on page 47, easier for me just so you can see what we've actually got here for you. This, we proposed this as a housekeeping amendment. These are some technical amendments that we're recommending that get done to the bylaw. And that's it's not a public meeting because these are just corrections that we found as we found in the bylaw, things that need to be fixed to be consistent with what was intended in the bylaw was originally passed. So the second, that's the residential zone. We recommended the setbacks of 2 meters from the side yards, 0 meters to the joint wall between the two. There was a parcel that was not properly zoned, that should have been zoned as a residential hamlet, as Schedule A, so that changed. And we're doing the same thing in the interior side yard for an R3 zone, especially written that was missed in the interior side yard. We're recommending removal of section 3.36, which was a zone. That probably passed a lot of the zone and such. So keep it all in one bylaw. Located zoning bylaw. And lastly was to clarify the hobby farm as a being a permitted use in section 10.
I can hardly hear him.
Is he cutting in and out?
You cut out in the last bit there, Tim.
Sorry about that.
That's better.
I'm not sure how much of it.
The last one we didn't hear at all, which was the section 10.1 about the hobby farm.
Also, under the agricultural designation, we hadn't included a hobby farm as a permitted use, and it was supposed to have been included in the list of uses, so we're recommending we put it in so that it's an appropriately recognized use within that zone.
Okay. Council understand and have enough information from Tim on this?
yeah.
Yeah, cleaning it up.
Okay, are there any questions or concerns on it? Just raise your hand if you do.
I understand it.
Okay. If not, you all heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thanks for now, Tim.
Thank you.
Next one is 2020-89 part lot control bylaw.
Moved by Counselor Mellon, second by Counselor Wells, that bylaw number 2020-89, being a bylaw to exempt lands from part lot control legally described as part lot 101, block 26 on Plan 29 in the former geographic township of Williamsburg, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Tim, you on again for this one?
Sorry, but Certainly, Mr. Mayor, I can deal with this one. This is to recognize the permission for a semi-detached to be sold as two separate units. In the R2 zone, we permit it to be constructed as a semi. Once it's constructed, we then pass a apartment control law to allow each half to be separately sold.
Okay. Does council understand the concept and any questions for Mr. Chatter? Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. And the last one is 2020-90, temporary zoning bylaw amendment, Part 31, Concession 4, 8R1336, Parts 5 to 8.
Moved by Counselor Lewis, second by Counselor Mellon, that bylaw number 2020-90, being a bylaw to authorize the temporary use zoning bylaw amendment to zoning bylaw number 2010-48, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
So this deals with the public meeting we had tonight. Is there anything further from council on this? Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda, please.
Moved by Counselor Mellon, second by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that all items listed under general consent section of the agenda be adopted as presented, save and except for item 9G be moved to discussion items.
So this evening, we have two petitions from the town of Amherstburg. We have an application to dispose of certain account balances from Enbridge Gas, which they have to file with the Ontario Energy Board, Dundas County Archives newsletter. We have a donation from Marlene Cruikshank concerning the Morrisburg Public School mural, which the Cruikshank family and company were involved in. And graciously thank her for that. Key information report on the controlled drug and substance disposal procedure, monthly activity reports from recreation, economic development, water, wastewater, transportation, environmental services, fire and emergency services, finance, administration, and CAO. All heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. So boards, committees, and discussion items. First one's county council. Do you want to say anything concerning our committee of the whole, or bring that back when it gets official?
Bring it back when it's official.
Okay, the only thing I will mention about it will be the sign bylaw at the counties was thoroughly discussed, and there will be some changes that they will hopefully work with the lower tier municipalities a little better on any signs that they have jurisdiction over, so. Not gonna fix the current problem yet, but we need to work on ours yet too, so it's a combination thereof. Cemetery boards, Council Wells?
No meetings, Mayor.
No Iroquois District Business Group meetings for myself, Morrisburg BIA, South Nation Conservation Authority, no meeting, Morrisburg Waterfront.
No, this week.
Iroquois Waterfront did have a meeting. There was a thorough discussion over a lot of things concerning what John Ross has initiated at the campground, and we do in that area, including the lawn bowling. It was quite a lengthy presentation and meeting, and we do have another meeting this Thursday night. South Branch? Carmen House? No. Dundas County Archives, no. Tourism Advisory?
Nope,
Economic Development?
nope,
Doctor Advisory?
nope.
Well, short and sweet. Okay, we moved short-term rentals and cannabis zoning to October 8th, which is this Thursday. South Dundas Ash Tree Program discussion led by Councillor Mellon.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Byvells and other members of council. This was brought to my attention, I guess, from a phone call and an email from staff. A resident had contacted me after being referred by Danielle to discuss the Ottawa, I guess, ash tree program and what South Dundas is doing. The Ottawa program, of course, I guess there's some misconception out there that South Nation's doing an ash tree replacement program, but it's not. It's just for the city of Ottawa, which they put in $200,000. I thought it was, I could stand corrected. I checked that yesterday. But, yeah, so they put 200,000 in, and this individual that contacted me, wanted to know if we had any type of, plan like that, or if we had ever considered a plan like that. I said, and maybe real formal, general discussion maybe a year or two ago, but, know that we didn't. I also informed her that we're not the city of Ottawa, we can't afford a large program. I know, I talked to Danielle, and, we did around 60,000, I think, from the 2020 budget, in our parks and recreation, and I think we need to keep that up. This individual asked me if, I would bring this to the council meeting and, see if, we would entertain maybe doing a program similar to Ottawa. I told her I would bring it to council. I also told her that it would be a much scaled back version from the city of Ottawa. I guess the problem is in a lot of the hamlets and towns and villages, when you got the ash trees that are dying, they pose a real risk and a hazard to, you know, the people in the houses and the buildings themselves. And they can be real expensive to remove, especially in a small lot. There's lots of pros and cons to this, but I guess what I'm asking here tonight is if, council would entertain it, that staff maybe would look at this for a 2021 budget item. And I indicated that to this resident, and I said it would be a budget item for next year, and whether it, you know, we approve it or not. Because there is, I think, a lot of interest maybe out there, because the city of Ottawa's program is very well taken up by them, by the residents of the city of Ottawa. So I guess what I'm asking or interested in getting feedback from other members of council, if this would be something that maybe we could have a line item in. Of course, it would be a discussion at budget time, or maybe a staff report would come back. I don't know if Danielle is still on there. She was gonna see what kind of money we had left over from this year's budgeted amount, or if we had spent it all or then some, so she said she would look that up. I'm not sure if she had a chance to or not.
Danielle?
Thank you, Mayor. So I did have the opportunity to go through the budget. So in 2020, $40,000 was allocated to the Parks and Recreation tree budget. So that budget is not just for ash trees, it's for all trees. So we've only spent about $6,000 to date. So we do have some money left in that budget, and that's just because we haven't been doing as much work on trees because of COVID. So we have had a little bit of a delay in some of our tree work. A lot of it's actually being done this fall. So I don't know if we're going to get to the 40,000, but I do think that we will be close to that budgeted amount. So that's where we're sitting right now in 2020 with regards to budget.
Thank you. I don't think we should touch that money as far as that goes. I think that money, and we gotta continue on with the program in the parks and green spaces as far as I'm concerned, and probably we maybe need to add to it to catch up on some of the ash trees, or this is just for trees in general in our parks and whatnot. If you get a chance to look at the Ottawa program, there's an application, and, you know, it sort of spells out how they administer the program through the city of Ottawa, and South Nation, I guess, is partners with them, but just as a providing staff time and expertise, I guess. So anyways, this is, I said I would bring this up to council when the resident asked me if I would, and I don't know if that's something we want to entertain, or do we want to just continue on and look after our parks first, and I think that's maybe the main objective. You know, landowners, farmers, I just had a machine in today cleaning out a bunch of dead elms on my fence line, so you can't, you know, farmers I don't think would be as much as, you know, there's a cost for, you know, what I did today and whatever farmer does to clean up the fence lines, but I think maybe on residential lots, especially the smaller ones, this might be a program that might be worthwhile to look into. You know, it would be a scaled back version, possibly, but I don't know if this would be something that we would want to look at budget time. I think that's when it has to be looked at. I don't think any money that we have left over, if we have any left over, should be carried over into next year's for our program in our parks and recreation areas, remove dead trees, so. Anything else I can elaborate if you need anything else?
Okay, so I have one question before I turn it to council. Was the resident a resident of one of our villages or hamlets, or a rural resident?
No, it's a person from Morrisburg here
Okay,
that asked about it, that contacted me from,
okay. I do believe we have a lot of our own trees to cut yet, from what I see and what we've been told by a letter in the newspaper, so you're right on the 40,000, but anyway, we'll go ahead. Deputy Mayor Gardner.
It's interesting to me. I know my neighbors, 3 houses, they've all removed all of their big standing trees. I think that I don't think any of us would have issues with that. But if you're in a small house and you're a senior and all of a sudden you're receiving a $1,200 bill, I think the price range for a live tree until it gets dead, and then the dead ones are more expensive to remove in a concentrated area. I think receiving a $2,000 bill to take some of those trees away would be substantial. I'm surprised that the Conservation Authority doesn't do something. Like, I'm surprised that it's a municipal, because they do help, woodlot owners and all that fun stuff. I'm surprised that they haven't moved their, come up with an urban program.
yeah, the only one they do right now, I guess, is they have other grant programs, for trees, and, if you want to get replanting areas and stuff, they do offer programs, but with the City of Ottawa program, it is funded totally by the city. And I don't know if South Nation would entertain, and I would, I guess, be a little leery on that, because of course that's going to cost us more in the long run. Yeah, they don't have a program such as this, just for over their whole jurisdiction. You can get trees from South Nation, and they'll offer different types of programs, or that they do. And we took advantage of a grant program here just recently for, I think, $300 or $500. I forget what it was, but Deputy Mayor Gardner's right. Like, in this individual that contacted me, she had several trees on her property, and it's going to get very expensive.
Yeah.
And she simply said, I really haven't got the money to remove these trees. And I think that's going to be the case in some areas, some people, that they're, financially, it's going to be very expensive to remove these trees, and sooner or later, they're going to have to come down, because, in small lots, maybe the neighbor, if your tree, I got a tree on my lot, it's going to fall over on the neighbors, and, so I don't know if this is something we want to entertain to put into the budget, yeah, South Nation doesn't have a program.
I think it'd be hard to make sure it was fair. Like, how do you make sure that it goes to the people that need it, right? And I don't know. I don't know. I'm all, trust me, I've got 3 that are going to have to be taken down at some point. And, ours are not as far advanced, so we have some time. But I watched probably about 10 trees just line up. And it changes the landscape, and it's very open now and everything. But I can imagine, having watched them fell it in a residential area, if you're in a row of smaller lots, I think that price is going to go way up just for them to control the cut. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a municipal responsibility, but it would be nice if at least the South Nation would have a look at just proposing something, based on what can do. Because, $200,000 sounds like a lot, but the City of Ottawa, that would get eaten up fairly quick, I would think, right?
They pay $500 per tree with maximum, I think it's 10 per landowner.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's too bad. It'd be nice to just get rid of the animal dashboard.
Okay, from a jurisdiction point of view, municipalities don't have to pay for it in order to conservation authorities, so
Yeah.
it's a decision of council if they want to do that out of wherever dollars they want to get. Conservation authorities can do it too, they just would have to work with their levy
Yeah.
in fellow municipalities. Some may want to do it, some may not, so. Councilor Lewis?
I really don't know what to say about this one. Like, I think we could be opening up a can of worms. Trees are dying all over the municipality, you know, and we've got our own backyard to take care of. If council wants, we can most likely look at it in the 2021 budget, and maybe give a percentage to help cut the tree down, but I don't think that we should shell out $1,500 to $2,000 for a residence tree. That's my feelings, and, you know. Because we have, I would say by the end of this year, that 40,000 that we have on our own trees in the park and rec area, there's not going to be a lot of money left out of that one.
No, and it's proposed to be higher in future years, so.
Yeah.
Councilor Wells?
Yeah, I'm, unfortunate, there's not just gonna be the one that was brought to our attention from Councilor Mellon. There's gonna be several. We're in a position, like I agree with Councilor Lewis about, we have a lot of our own trees. I would entertain maybe looking at 2021 budget, but, and to be realistic about it, we don't have the money ourselves to do this. Like, it's unfortunate, and everyone, you gotta look for people that, in your case, whoever approached you, maybe someone wants firewood, will come in and cut them down for nothing. But overall, it's gonna be hard to take something like that. It's just for the situation we're in. Like, we don't have a lot of money here, and there's a lot of other issues, and like Deputy Mayor says, like, she has 3 trees. I have 6 trees back there I gotta cut down. My brother's got 250 he's gotta cut down. Now, that's a business, but still, at the end of the day, it's something, we went through this with Dutch elm disease, where there was a lot of trees taken down. It's just, unfortunately, it's just part of life, and it's maybe down, like, in certain circumstances, like a senior or whatever, they approach council, I could see maybe helping someone out in real dire need, but at the end of the day, there's only so many you can help, so we'll see where it goes, and I'm not saying there's no money at all, but as right today, I would say we take care of what we have of our own in the municipality, then go from there. Thank you.
Okay, so, as much as I'm sympathetic to those landowners that have ash trees dying in their yards, and I'm in the fortunate situation, I don't have any ash trees on my home property, numerous ones on the farm property, but, you know, that most farmers can deal with that, and don't want to certainly open up that can of worms. And yes, the costs are fairly expensive. Cost me, you know, $1,000 to take a tree out last year, so there's certainly money involved, and finding somebody to do it nowadays will probably be a challenge too, because I'm sure that those who cut down trees are busy every day, as long as they charge reasonable prices. Going down the slippery slope of paying for them for our residents is going to be a challenge, because it's, you know, we have our own to deal with. We got $40,000. Really, that's not very much money, but, you know, we have more in our parks and excuse me, recreation area have to be cut, and then all the ones in our public on our roads and the road right of ways have to be dealt with too. So public works will have to, or transportation will have to have some budget for tree cutting too, and dealing with that. So to be honest, I think, you know, unless you're committed to the program, we can put it on as a budget item and see where it lands up, but today I can't be in favor of doing it. It's gonna open up the biggest can of worms we ever had. You know, you can say, well, I can't afford to gravel my driveway, so I can phone you know, the director of transportation get a load of stone, well, because I can't afford it. Well, it's not similar, it's equal, but, you know, it's an unfortunate situation with ash trees. I won't disagree. But there's no other municipality except the City of Ottawa that has funded that program. So I'm not going to be the first one, that's for sure. So we'll go around the table. You want to say one more last thing, and then we'll
Well,
decide if we'll
you
bring
know-
it to budget or not?
I know, I can agree with what, you know, members of council are saying, and I'm sympathetic towards that too. And I realize, you know, and I indicated to this individual that, you know, we can't afford to, you know, spend a lot of money. And, you know, if with the City of Ottawa program, it's an application-based format, and, you know, it's first come, first served. They put X number of dollars in, and, you know, once that money's gone, it's gone, and, for that year. So, you know, it would be up to the landowner, the residential owner to pick up the brunt of the cost, you know. It would be, I guess, helping offset the cost, you know, whether it's $50 or $100 or whatever, you know, towards offsetting the cost. But I can, you know, like I say, there's pros and cons of this, and I've thought about this, and, you know, there is lots of, you can go either way on this one, and I can totally appreciate and understand what members of council are saying, so whether or not want to try it, you know, look at it at budget time or not, it's a flavor of council.
Okay, so we'll go around and we'll just get a show of hands, those who want to see this as a budget item, and then have a discussion on it at that time. Go yay or nay?
Sure.
One?
Oh, no, no,
No, yes?
no,
No?
no, I don't want to see it.
No. I would guess, but
Okay, so we won't do it for this year.
absolutely.
We certainly keep it in mind. If something comes along from the province or something, if MNRF wants to throw some money on the table, we'll certainly entertain it. And if South Nation wants to build a general program for all their municipalities, then maybe we can participate in that, depending on the terms and conditions of it,
I'll
so.
keep my eyes open at South Nation, and maybe put a bug in their ear and see if they don't think they do anything.
Yeah. and
Thank you, Mayor Byvelds and members of council.
Okay, you're welcome. So tonight we have a letter from the Iroquois Matilda Lions Club concerning a garage sale that they had this past weekend, and a request to bring what's left over from the yard sale to the dump free of charge. Does Danielle or any member of staff know how much got brought it back?
Thank you, Mayor. So the total for their disposal on Saturday was $91. They brought in a relatively large load, and that's, with our new fees, it's $91.
Okay, so we'll go around the council table and see what your thoughts are on this request. Councilor Wells.
Personally, like, I don't know it was a Lion member, whether, like, it was the way I read the letter, whether it's their own house or whatever was going on. It's not so much the $91, it's, I'm surprised that someone would ask for the municipality to pay $91 to get rid of what they would consider to be junk at the end of the day. But, and by saying that, I have no issues with the $91, but I just, it's something I'm not gonna entertain every time. Like, this is the Lions thing, maybe it's something to do with a fundraiser. The letter wasn't really a lot of info in it, how the garbage came. It looked like it was a Lion member. So, I'm good with the $91 this time. Thank you.
Councilor Mellon?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is sort of double-edged sword, if you will. The Lions do a lot of good work in the community, and they give back, you know, an immense amount of support back into the community. You know, sooner or later, we're gonna have to, you know, put a stop, I guess, if you will, to, you know, this one wanting to use a dump free, and I mean, we're looking at, dump charges and raising dump fees and stuff. I would, sort of side with Councilor Wells. I would look at this, but I think we gotta be careful because we're gonna have a very slippery slope. Everybody will be wanting, you know, I have a yard sale or a fundraising event or whatever, and somebody will be coming in, oh, can we get rid of our garbage for nothing? And, our landfills are an issue, to say the least, so $91 isn't a lot, but, sooner or later, we gotta decide one way or another if we're going to do this or not. I guess I would be in favor of this, but I think we gotta rein this in. Wish they would've asked before than after. You know, but that's all for now, Mayor Byvells.
Councilor Lewis?
I have to agree with my colleagues. I don't wanna make this an open book thing. If you have a yard sale, well, we'll go to the municipality and say, can we take our stuff to the dump free of charge? I think we gotta be, once again, very careful at what we're doing here. Like, I don't have an issue with the $91, and as Councilor Mallon said, it would've been nice if they would've came before their yard sale and not afterwards. So, I won't have an issue with it this time, but I hope it doesn't come back to the table.
Yep, Mayor Gardner.
You know, this is a tricky one, only because, as Councillor Mellon pointed out, the Lions Club do a lot of good work in the community. However, I do know that there's other events of a garage sale nature, only they don't charge anything for the items. They give them for free. And my only concern this year is having that open up of unwanted items. It is only $91, but given the fact that we've had such major discussion about our landfills and how the life expectancy is, I'm okay with the 91, but I fully expect that this will indeed open up for some of those other events that where they give away stuff they don't actually charge. So it's tricky. I think maybe just maybe letting folks know if they're going to do a charity garage sale, that I guess getting rid of the leftover stuff is part of an expense. But I'm okay with the 91 for now.
Well, first of all, I'll start by saying that I do agree with council at the Iroquois Manitoba Lions Club, along with all the Morrisburg Lions Club and any other Lions Club in the area or charitable organization, do a lot of work in South Dundas, and it's fully appreciated. Now it comes to however, because when I read this, I was not happy with it. I felt it put council on the spot. Especially after the fact that they had this on Saturday, and knowing that we just raised our rates at our landfill. I'm sure we're all getting calls from the larger contractors complaining about the pricing, and I'm still willing to defend them considering how much our landfill is costing now and down the road. So this is a very challenging situation because we don't know how they operated. Like, if everybody brought their stuff there, well, I had a garage load of stuff there to bring due, and if they wouldn't have sold it, they would have took it to the dump. So, it's just not right. I don't think it's set up very poorly. I was going to write a letter to Lion Delgard over it, but I let it go. I did inform one of the Lions members that I know that he didn't even know about the request, that it put council in a challenging position. So, council's going to agree to pay to let the 91 be waived, and so be it. But I think this needs to be done a little better and a little more professional if they want to do it. And they have to understand our situation. It's the landfill is filling up very quickly, and anything and everything has to be accounted for nowadays. It doesn't matter whether it comes from a charity or it comes from a person who is in a business or whatever. I know there's a business in town here that gets donations all the time, and probably a third of their stuff they have to take to the landfill too. So it all costs money. It has to be done well. However, it's I think we all wish it was done a little bit more professionally, and hopefully they get the message in the future. You got a motion, Madam Clerk?
Yes. Moved by Councillor Mellon, second by Councillor Lewis, that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas authorize the refund of landfill disposal fees to the Iroquois Matilda Lions Club in the amount of $91.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next report's key information report on the Matilda landfill closure procedures. Danielle?
Thank you, Mayor. So in front of you this evening is a report of the Matilda landfill closure. So under Regulation 23298, a closure plan must be submitted to the Ministry of Environment at least 2 years prior to the landfill closing or meeting maximum capacity. So some of the highlights in the report, because it is quite lengthy, is that based on the current use, Matilda landfill will be at capacity within 4 years from January 2020. So starting next year, we'll be down to 3 years. The estimated contaminating lifespan is 43 years at Matilda, so it is less than Williamsburg. That does mean for the next 43 years, we would have to budget for sampling of the landfill. Closure costs are estimated to be $985,000. That's with the cost to bring clay into Matilda landfill. And the other thing to note as part of this closure procedure is that we did look into applying for a geosynthetic liner. And once we've received feedback from the ministry on that liner, we would then bring back a report to council to compare the clay to the geosynthetic liner. If you have any questions regarding the report, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Gardner?
That was my question at the end, was the comparison, so I'll wait for that to come back.
That was the only question I had.
Council
I
Mellon?
mean, this is a requirement that we have to have this in place, and with the potential landfill being filled on its license we have now, so let's hope the geothermal will save us $600,000. Okay, no, that's it.
Council Wells?
Yeah, I got a few comments. Like, I have no issues with the procedure. Obviously, we already went through it once. We're gonna go through this again. And I went down, I read this report and it's long. How they calculate the 43 years on this row method. And did the calculations. Some of it I understand, some of a lot of this you have to be a Philadelphia lawyer to figure it out. But when it comes down to the 43 years, and we got 80-some years at Williamsburg landfill, it says in the report there about it's based on each year it would be adjusted due by the findings, correct, Danielle? Like depending on the leach and whatever, if it's stopping and so forth and going on. Now that 43 years, who determines that? Like, is there a system in place that we're gonna monitor this, or is like WSP or a third party, or like who does actually the monitoring of this? And moving forward with that, at the end, like say 10 years down the road into the 43 years after the closure, does it come to, okay, someone could say, could we go out for a second opinion like we have on water tower issues and different issues to maybe challenge whoever's taking care of it? Like even with Williamsburg, I'm not really sure who's gonna be doing the testing in 83 years. Obviously, it's not the person that's gonna be testing it next year. So, and just as questions like that for, as far as everything else, it's just this roll method and the 83 years and the 43 years of us and future 20 councils budgeting for all this, so I don't know, maybe you can bring light to the people and how, if there's any way that this could, at worst scenario, be in 43 years, say, well, this could be in 10 years, everything as far as whatever they're checking for could be at the end. If I'm making any sense here,
Yep.
so it just I think of the money that the municipality is going to spend in 80 years for Williamsburg at 3-point-some million and another 43 years. Is this in stone? Like, I know on findings, like, how can we determine? It's a hard thing. I guess it's just year by year, but it's hard for people to swallow that we gotta keep budgeting every year. Like, both landfills combined, would probably be roughly $60,000 to $70,000 a year, which is a lot of money, just for what tests they do. And I'm not sure, and I'm sure you know all the tests they do, so if you can just enlighten me on how we can maybe save.
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Mayor, what the row method does is it takes peak chloride. So peak chloride is the amount of chloride that is within a leachate sample. So what we do is we have a series of groundwater monitoring wells that are surrounding the landfill. And what we do is we register on-site leachate content. So that's the garbage juice that's at the landfill. We determine what its chloride level is. And then we compare that with the chloride level in all of the other surrounding wells. So what the row method does is it takes the peak chloride amount that's located at the landfill within the garbage chute and determines how long that peak chloride will be within the landfill. So over time, as it rains and as the landfill gets closed, that chloride level will decline. And then it will move off-site, which happens in most landfills. So what that row method is looking at is how long that chloride will be active in garbage use. The row method is an estimate method, so it's not guaranteed. So what we do each year is we do some testing. We already do that now. We actually did that this year with Williamsburg. We get all the information we need and we submit it to a professional geologist. And the geologist looks at the hydrostatic ability of that garbage juice to move outside of the landfill. They then submit that information to the Ministry of Environment for review through the annual report process. So once that annual report goes to the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Environment evaluates whether or not the landfill needs to continue to have sampling completed. And that decision is made at the provincial level based on whatever groundwater quality targets they're trying to meet. So over the last few years, we have seen the ministry become lax on some of those standards, but in past, they have become more stringent. So it depends on who's, I hate to say it this way, but it depends on who's in the provincial government and what kind of rules they have in place regarding groundwater quality. That really affects how long we'll have to monitor these landfills and how much it will cost us.
Okay, now, like all the tests we're due, like, do we reach out to, it's gotta be, like, do we actually go and get water samples and take water samples, Danielle, from the wells and the surface water and all that? And we just go and hire someone to do the test on it? So like, we don't say we don't have WSP on the books for the next 80 years or whatever, some company, so we just take water samples. It's just something like taking a water sample from my well and taking it back to the health unit. Is it, like, I know there's more to it than that, but in a roundabout way?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, it's pretty much exactly that. So if council wanted to take our own water samples, we could do that. However, at the end of the day, it would need to go to an accredited lab that's recognized by the Ministry of Environment. And that accredited lab would then send back the lab results, which would have to be signed off by a professional geoscientist. So the municipality can't sign off on its own results. We would have to have a third party do that. But if council wanted the municipality to sample its own wells, we could do that, and that could reduce the cost.
No, I fully understand. like the legwork I was adding to, and if we have to keep the same things in reports, but no, thank you, Danielle, you answered all my questions. Thank you.
Okay. My only response is that it's an excellent report that you and WSP have put together. It's certainly a necessary document. Once again, demonstrates to our residents how expensive landfill and garbage has become in South Dundas. You know, there's nothing pretty about it. You know, we all had a commitment to dealing with landfills when we went through the election, and we're certainly not sweeping it under the rug. This has to be done, and, you know, if we get an expansion at Matilda, then we would still need a closure report for what's there. So, work is done. As Council Wells says, it's lengthy, it's costly, it's something that everyone needs to keep in mind when they go back to the landfill, just to throw something over the edge. So, anything further from council? Okay, thank you very much for that, Danielle. Okay, next one's key information report for Bill 197 on electronic meeting participating and proxy voting. Madam Clerk.
Deputy Clerk will be speaking to this.
Okay, didn't know, but that's fair enough.
Good evening, Mayor Bubbles, member of council. So due to COVID-19, the province of Ontario passed the Municipal Emergency Act to ensure council and municipalities could continue to meet to conduct business. On March 27, 2020, council amended the procedural bylaw to permit council to participate electronically during a declared emergency. This enabled council to continue to meet regularly while precautions were taken to mitigate COVID-19. Further, the province of Ontario passed Bill 197, the COVID-19 Emergency or Economic Recovery Act, on July 23, 2020. Specifically, this bill amends the Municipal Act in two separate ways. One, members of council may participate electronically in a meeting that is open or closed to the public and can be counted on for the purposes of quorum. This would no longer be dependent on the state of emergency. Procedures regarding circumstance, timelines, technology requirements, and application would have to be considered prior to amending the procedural bylaw. We would also ask council to consider expanding this to the committees as well, as they are seeking to meet, and given the precautions around COVID-19, they might not be able to meet face-to-face moving forward. Second, Bill 97 is permitting proxy voting. Proxy voting allows absent members of council to vote on matters in council while absent. Procedures regarding the establishment, circumstance, and method of participation would have to be considered prior to amending the procedural bylaw. So staff are seeking just a little bit of direction in terms of what direction the council wishes to go forward. And I'd be happy to answer any questions they may have regarding the case.
Okay, so council understands what the ask is here?
Yeah.
Okay, then go ahead, Councilor Wells. I'll push her over to you first then,
So.
just making sure.
Well, we had a little discussion about this as far as I would be for the Bill 197 in full favor of everything on that except for the proxy for another council member to vote on behalf of a council member. And sticking to, like, there's three meetings you can miss, whatever, but if there's for whatever reason, like whether it's telephone or virtual or whatever, I do like the idea that we can actually vote on that. Other than that, everything else in there is just it's what we've heard over the last since March of all the stuff and stuff we're allowed to do. We've all been through about 3/4 of all the stuff that we're allowed. Yeah, so I think it's a good thing.
Councilor Mellon?
Yeah, I mean, taking part electronically, I can, if a member of council has got a medical condition or whatever that would prevent him or her from attending a meeting, yes, I can see that. The proxy vote, I don't agree with, I agree with Councilor Wells on that. I don't think we should have that. But as far as a medical condition that might prevent a council member from physically being at the meeting, but yet taking part electronically, I can agree with that. Myself, I am supposed to have surgery sometime, supposed to have it by now, but I haven't, but, you know, and there might be a time, it might be a period of a few weeks where I might not be too mobile, and might not be able to make a council meeting, but I would like to take part in one, you know, as far as, discussion and whatnot. It'll be the logistics of the thing as far as, you know, live members here and then an individual on the screen, if, you know. But I like that idea, but I think it should be only for medical conditions or whatever. I'm, you know, if I'm sitting on a beach in Jamaica, I don't think I should be part of a council meeting. You know, and, you know, so, but, you know, if you have an issue, medical or whatever, family issue, whatever, something like that, yes, but not to use it, I mean, I've missed a couple meetings over, I have missed meetings in the wintertime because I've been away, but I would not entertain the thought of participating in that meeting electronically if we can. So only if it's a medical issue or something like that would, I think that would be acceptable in my mind, but the proxy vote, no, because you get into a discussion at the table and staff reports and stuff. You might think you might know how you're gonna vote and give that vote to somebody else, and then new information or discussion, you know, you think, oh, shoot, I wish I hadn't voted that way, but the vote's gone, so, anyway.
Councilor Lewis?
I would say the proxy, absolutely not. I wouldn't want somebody to be speaking for me when it comes to a vote. I just don't see where that would even make sense. Bill 197, I'm on the same side as my colleague, Councilor Mellon. Medical or family matter, yes, but if you're gone on vacation for 2 weeks and we have a council meeting in while you're gone, no, you decided that you were going on a vacation, so you shouldn't have any say whatsoever. That's my feelings on that.
Mayor Gardner?
Proxy, no. To Councillor Mellon's point, the electronic participation, for me, it's only under special circumstances. I think it's important. I think we found the effectiveness of having that face-to-face, but to Councillor Mellon's point, if an emergency arises and the person's able to, or a medical leave, then I think it's important for the person's recovery to still be able to participate and not feel completely on the sidelines by no fault of their own. So I think electronic participation only for special circumstances. The clerk did mention as well, the deputy clerk, about committees as a consideration. I think that we've seen how our committees, some of the committees haven't moved forward. I think the electronic participation for committee members, I think, would be important. I think we've missed some lost opportunities to perhaps have some discussions if those committees were able to meet via electronic participation. So I'd like that to be considered as well.
Okay. So the proxy vote is universally declared null and void in South Dundas. Agree with all the comments on proxy voting. As for electronic participating in meetings, I think we've proved to ourselves that it can be done over the last summer. I agree with, Councilor Mellon and others that it has to have some special circumstances to it. I'm not sure if we should have a list or how deputy clerk and the clerk can look at it and give us some suggestions on what would constitute an opportunity to do so. Fully agree with Councilor Mellon and Councilor Lewis. You're on vacation, that you've made your choice, and to do so from afar is, I don't think is fair to the council members that are sitting here and doing their work locally. However, if there's a medical emergency, it's a family emergency, there's a host of reasons. Most of the time, it's not a lot of reasons, but enough reasons that you know, if you're going through treatments or something like that, you still can participate. That was what you were elected to do. And we have the technology to do so. We can certainly use the smart TV to make it work. And the way we run our meetings and allow everyone to have a voice or participate, I think works well. So we can certainly do that portion of it and see how we can make it work. Yep.
So what do you think about a snowstorm? Or do you want us to come back with some of those ideas?
Yeah, I think so. You can throw some, you know, it doesn't have to happen tomorrow. You know, we can take a few meetings to, you know, you can come back next meeting with the list and we can go through it, and then the next meeting we can pass the procedure bylaw to affect those changes. I think that better to do that than rush it through by the next one.
Okay, because there's a few questions there to answer, and we can just say, this is what we think, how do you want to do it?
Yeah, yeah, no. Okay, is that fair to council? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but in this snowstorm, with the internet the way that it is, especially in the rural areas, you might find if we're not here because of weather, that the internet's not gonna be a great choice at home. Just saying.
Well, true. If it's that bad, then, you know, canceling the meeting would probably be, or postponing it to another date would probably be the smart move, instead of trying to get everybody lined up at the last minute, because that would technically be a last minute decision more than anything else. Or I wouldn't say 12 hours at the most, because you can't really predict how a snowstorm is going to act right till the time it hits, or 6 hours before. So, yes, Councilor Mellon.
Along that light too, obviously, I guess staff, we'd have to have some kind of staff here to be able to run the meeting electronically. And I mean, if it's a snowstorm, you know, somebody's gonna have to come in and somebody's gonna have to go home. You know, if it's that bad, I think your point, Mayor Boyville, just postpone it for 24 hours or whatever the period or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. Anything further? Okay, so you have your direction. Thank you, Deputy Clerk Robert, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Next one is the draft North Dundas dry hydrant agreement. Shannon?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So a couple meetings ago, we had a general discussion on the cost sharing agreement with North Dundas for the installation of a dry hydrant. So between North Dundas and ourselves, we've been putting together a draft agreement for council review. As indicated, the counties are involved in this as well, because it's on a county road, and also they have offered to do the snow removal throughout the winter for the dry hydrant. As indicated, we would pay half the cost of the installation, and then they would do the annual maintenance every year for Dundas, and then any future replacements, we would take care of it, splitting equally. The other clause we put in here too is 180-day termination notice. So if things change for South Dundas, where we want to look at installing our own dry hydrant somewhere in our community, that we can look at opting out of this agreement if it doesn't make sense for us anymore. So this is just a draft, so any comments or questions from council, we can bring that forward to our solicitor and have this changes. North Dundas is reviewing this tomorrow night at their council meeting as well too.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Gardner?
I was okay with that.
We've had this discussion. I have no issues.
No, I
Councilman?
mean, this is basically what we're looking at, or what we discussed in the past. You know, I can see the counties maybe doing some of the snow removal, but in, you know, crunch situations, North Dundas or South Dundas may have to put their truck to do the wing in there. But I mean, hopefully there's not a lot of future repairs, but you never know what kind of individuals might be back in the country there, and no, I can't imagine anybody doing, you know, it shouldn't be any issues. It's a pretty basic, simple system and well put in, so I agree with this.
Councilor Wells?
I have no questions.
Okay, the only comment I'll make is I think this is, you know, it's an excellent agreement between North and South Dundas on working together, and the counties pitching in to do a little bit for their part. So I think a good tripartite agreement, and you can inform the CEO of North Dundas that South Dundas has no issues with this agreement as written. Okay, next one is a key information report concerning South Dundas Halloween programming. Deputy Mayor Gardner.
I I just wanted to pull it, just because I thought it was a good idea to highlight that there is some work being done on Halloween. And I know for those of you that don't have little people at home, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But I can say I've actually received calls on this. And I do have a little 8-year-old at home, and the kids in everywhere, but our South Dundas kids have been going to school, wearing masks. Reagan informs me that they sanitize their hands 8 to 10 times a day. She's counted. And they've been under immense stress. So while it seems like a pretty minimal, no big deal, just part of programming thing, for our littles in South Dundas, it's a fairly big deal. And when I saw this, I was pretty pleased. And I want it highlighted. I'm hoping that the staff really pushes it. I want to thank Jamie for putting this together. And like I said, it helps the parents. It sounds silly, but the kids have been doing what they need to do. Our South Dundas kids have been fabulous, as have been the teachers and everyone, and this is a pretty neat treat for them, so we won't have to cancel Halloween in South Dundas. For those of you that don't know, when Easter rolled around right at the beginning of the pandemic, we didn't have anything, and residents had tried to do something because it was that important. So it will be a bit of a big deal for the kids, as long as they know it, Jamie. So push, push, push.
Jamie,
Will do. Yeah.
your comments on it?
Yeah, I just, Mr. Mayor and Council, just wanted to be able to offer something to the community with the way things have been going. We're hoping with this Monday to Friday with doing something virtual with classes and, Halloween treats and crafts for the kids. And then this scavenger hunt we're going to have on Saturday, I'm hoping it's a big success. So yes, we will be pushing it.
Okay, any other comments from council on this? Council Mellon?
Oh, no, I agree. It's a great program. And like me, has Halloween door-to-door trick-or-treating been canceled?
Not yet,
Not yet,
but there's talk about whether or not it's going to be candy on a table. It's just a lot of ridiculous stress, and
Yeah.
I think that if the numbers keep going up,
Yeah.
it's probably not going to be
That'll be a
good thing.
directive from
Yeah.
the health unit, I would assume, yeah. But
But
I'm,
Yeah.
this is great, there's options there
Yeah.
for the kids.
Anything further?
No, good job, Jamie's, good program. Like, I have grandkids there, and I'm sure they're gonna be, they'll be, going there, so it's all good.
Anything, Council Lewis?
I just hope I don't have to chase kids down the street because I got enough for 80 children. So Halloween better not be canceled.
I'll be honest, I guess my eyes glazed over when I seen this. My grandchildren are only 16 months, and I know that their parents want to do something, but I think they don't know what they're doing anyway. They'll look cute, but however, Deputy Mayor Gardner has enlightened us that it's important to young families and trying to do something during the Halloween time. So thanks for doing what you could with that, Jamie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, next one is Iroquois Morseburg Water Tower Rehabilitation, CEO.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I do apologize for having this late today. I did have discussions with Bronco, who's overseeing the Iroquois and Morseburg rehabilitation. We have issued the RFP. We've actually compiled about 37 questions from the contractors that we're in the process of answering back right now. One of those questions is for council's discussion tonight as far as the color of the exterior of the tower and what council wants to see as far as logos or writing on our towers. It is important as part of getting the right pricing to have all that information for our contractors who are submitting bids. So looking for some guidance or some direction from council on how you want the towers to look like.
Okay, so before I swing it around the table, with the option of painting it one color and then coming back later to deal with whatever lettering or stenciling a council wants to put on work, or is it preferable that it all gets done at once?
Preferable if we can have it all at once, because we need to understand what the sizing of the logo may be or the writing may be, and depends on the colors as well too.
Okay, so nobody can use hot pink. Go.
Yeah, kind of caught off guard here a little bit. The RFP, as far as, which I obviously didn't see, I don't know, I know painting everything all one color, like we're not gonna paint Morrisburg blue and Iroquois red. Like, whatever color's picked, it's gonna be straight across the board because it's a lot cheaper to do that way. As far as logos go, we had discussions and there's been, certain things about Iroquois and stuff that, I don't know how we're gonna go about that. I'll just wait to see what we're gonna table, because I really don't know what to say here.
Okay, Council Mellon.
Well, yeah, you know, I picked out a color once for our living room that was pink, so anyways, when it's on the wall, so, I'm maybe not to go, I mean, to me, we go with one base color and then, you know, whether it's blue with white lettering or white with blue lettering or, you know, I don't think we need, you know, the South Dundas emblem thing on there, because, you know, it'd have to be so big to make it, you know, be able to see, understand what it is. You know, when do they need to know this by? Yesterday?
We have to have all the questions submitted, or all the answers submitted by the end of the week.
By the end of the week?
Yeah.
Huh, okay, would've been, you know,
The other option, if council wanted to, is if we could decide on a base color, is we could ask the proponents to provide a couple of different samples of their ideas.
Okay, well, don't forget, you've caught two men
Yes,
off guard
okay,
here,
so
so
should we
we,
get around here
we'll get
first?
around the table and then we'll see if we need to go down that
Okay.
road.
you know, yeah. Color-wise, schemes, whether we put, you know, I think, you know, we use the Morrisburg and Iroquois on the towers, and, you know, as Councilor Wells has maybe alluded to, you know, with the head on the Iroquois Tower of the indigenous issue there, you know, whether we wanna go back that road, or we just, you know, make it just plain color-wise, no, hear what somebody else has to say first.
Council Lewis.
To tell you the truth, I don't have an issue with the color white. You know, that's what our water towers are now. Then we're not getting into the fancy colors, and, you know, after a couple years, color does start to fade. Well, white usually tries to stay fairly white. Lettering, I'd just go with the black lettering, Iroquois, Morrisburg. And we all know about the issue with Iroquois. Myself, personally, I prefer to see the Indian head put back on. That's where I stand on that one. So I'd just go white and black lettering.
Mayor Gardner.
Alrighty.
You're gonna bring the female perspective to it, and no disrespect with
We'll
that.
call it female. Okay, so a couple of things. First of all, I respectfully disagree with Councillor Lewis. The kids in South Dundas just finished Orange Shirt Day regarding the Indigenous residential schools, and I for one cannot be on a council. Well, I guess I'd be one if I'm voted down, but 150,000 kids were in the residential schools all the way up until 1995. And our kids in South Dundas are learning these stories, and then they would drive by a water tower where I don't even know if I'd call it an Indigenous symbol, because it is quite dated, and I've heard from historians it's actually not authentic to the Iroquois. So I'd like to strongly recommend that we move on past that part of history. I'd like to see a two-toned water tower. I know that there's going to be different expenses with paint, and different colors are going to fade faster. So if the consultant can kind of give us what the best bang for the buck would be if we did do a two-tone, like I mean, I like the blue, not a aqua blue, like a navy blue with either white or gray to contrast. And I see, whenever I got the email, I looked at different water towers, and I see Municipality of South Dundas, and then in smaller lettering, Morseburg or Iroquois underneath as kind of a marker. Or you can do something creative. I mean, we saw in Maxville, obviously it was a new water tower, but they had did a tartan or something. There is something, whether it's a little band of apples or something like that. But again, that's additional cost. And I'm not saying we should go down that road just to be pretty or, you know, special. But I definitely would like to see them. I don't want to do away with like, I pulled up the old Morseburg water tower prior to the Canadian Tire symbol going on there, and it was just a very strong, bold Morseburg. And I think that is the way to go, or Municipality of South Dundas with the lower Village of Morseburg or whatever. Yeah, those are my comments.
Okay, so I've been told many times in my life that I'm boring when it comes to design work. However, sometimes boring is simple and it's more economical in the end. And, you know, maybe in the end, if council wants two versions of pricing, then maybe that's part of the proposal, and say, you know, you either do A or B, and we'll choose once we see the pricing on it. But I think the current towers are white, so I'm good with a good, nice white tower. I would put the village names on both respective towers, like Morseburg here, of course, and Iroquois there, and twice. The Canadian Tire emblem would disappear, and we would forsake that revenue that we have. And I think Deputy Mayor Gardner brought it up well, that if there's ever a water issue, the last thing Canadian Tire wants is their emblem stuck on a tower like Walkerton. And not to say that would happen, but it could happen. You know, we're very fortunate and we have good crew, but all it takes is, you know, we had a minor incident. No, that'd be probably 6 years ago, 7 years ago, where we had a bad test. Well, it came back as a negative, but still, it's that 2 or 3 days that somebody's going to have to endure, and they take a picture of the tower, and that's how we're recognized. So the indigenous figure in Iroquois, I know there's been online debates about it, and I know that people in Iroquois, some of them are very attached to it. I'd be a little bit willing to listen to them. However, my personal opinion on it is similar to Deputy Mayor Gardner's, where we need to move past that. I think the Iroquois, the symbol on the tower, I believe is disrespectful to the indigenous people. If it's comes to push to shove, then I'm certainly willing to listen to Chief Benedict at Akwesasne and see what he and his band would think of us having that remain there, and go from there. I think that might open up a big can of worms, but I think it's time that you know, Iroquois becomes Iroquois because it's Iroquois, not because it's related to a tribal faction of the Mohawks. In saying that, though, you know, we are still part of the municipality of South Dundas, and I'd be willing to put the blue and white emblem in between the two names, so you would have, you know, Iroquois, and two South Dundas symbols. I think I don't think South Dundas needs to be predominant. They are still our villages, and there's a lot of pride in the old towers, and I think that's the way I would envision it. Fairly basic. You know, you can't get much plainer than that.
Yeah, and actually, like, I agree with you, Mayor. Plain white. White is actually the cheapest color to paint anything. Morseburg, Iroquois, and as far as would I entertain this sign? Like I said, I would see what the chief would have to say, but I'm in favor of moving on, just painting them white. And actually, I did a little research, not a lot, but there's a very good debate there about if the head should even actually been on there, but that's just my own personal opinion. I would just be white, Morrisburg, Iroquois, entertain the municipal logo if it didn't cost a lot of money, and just go back, because at the end of the day, what we paint at the towers there just to do one job, provide water, so we're not in a water tower beauty contest here, so cheaper the better.
Councilman Allen?
Yeah, like, I mean, white, the color of the lettering, whether it's black or blue. As far as the emblem goes, I'm trying to picture that on the water tower. I'm a terrible one to do that. You'd have to make it, to me, big enough that you'd be able to distinguish that, you know, it's the land and the water, and how big that would have to be able to, you know, look up, or, you know, it'd have to be a fair size. To
You
me,
could-
I would just put white with the lettering Morrisburg and underneath that South Dundas, but, yeah.
So currently, we have the Canadian Tire emblem up there. You would have to be in that respective size. And size, you can't, size is different when you're that kind of far away. So it'll look awful big sitting here on the floor, but up there it wouldn't, so.
If
Nobody's
that
gonna
would
activate
look
the lights.
all right, if you could put it up there without it being sort of overwhelming the tower, I guess, if you will, you know, visually. Yeah, I would put Morrisburg and Iroquois in bigger lettering than South Dundas, it's just in my mind, or the emblem, you know, basic. As far as the indigenous head, Indian head up there, like, I mean, yeah, I guess we could ask, you know, the band council for input on that, but maybe it is time we, you know, drove by that period in history. You know, personally, I never thought of it as being disrespectful, but, you know, or in any way demeaning to, you know, the indigenous, Iroquois, band, but, if it is, you know, that's easy for me to sit here and say that, but, you know, maybe if we touch base with them, if so be it, but, maybe it's time we moved on from that.
Anything further, Councilor Lewis?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
I actually like some of the suggestions about the simplicity with the different things, and actually that logo would actually probably be represented fairly decently blown up. I think people would get the grain and the water. Like, I think it would probably, you could see it even better blown up. I think I said my piece on the Indigenous symbol, but I will say that I'm a big believer in youth and the generations below us coming up, and if there's one kid of Indigenous descent that drives by, I mean, now it's quite rusty, it's hard to pick out, but the importance is if one kid of Indigenous culture drives by and sees that that's what we believe in South Dundas, it's one too many.
I agree. So here's the challenge. Do we have somebody on staff that can kind of do that and make it look good, and Thursday we can kind of make a final?
I got one right in the corner right now.
I didn't want to point you out. Okay, so you have some ideas, you know, 2 or 3 ideas. I know there might be a demand for a survey, but we need to have something to get to our contract, to our project management to get this out.
So what we could do is we'll talk to Gillen and see about maybe bringing some concepts back on Thursday, and if council even likes, say, 2 concepts, we can maybe submit both of them, and then do a survey from those 2 out to the public while we wait for pricing, if that's something council wants to do.
Okay.
Good.
And as far as like, whether the head or the logo or anything, it's just a matter of a wrap, like it's not, they're not gonna have artists up there painting it, so it goes pretty quick and it's not a big cost, like, as far as putting that on.
No. It's more I would say semi-permanent looks. If worst comes to worst, as you say, it's more a wrap these days.
Yeah.
It's not like someone's up there painting it on, and it can come off and on quite easy. Just like at the NHL games when they want to change the boards in the middle of a period, and you're wondering, that's not going to make any difference for me buying that product, but that's just the way the world works, so. Okay. Good discussion, thank you. Any notices of motion this evening, Madam Clerk?
No.
Okay, so before we go into our closed session, I'd like to thank council so far for their actions. I'd like to thank staff for all their input. And I'd like to thank the audience online for participating, and we're glad that you have seen your council in action. Go ahead. Oh, in just a second, just to let you know that once we come out of closed session, we will only have the ratification bylaw and adjournment, so this will be a wrap for the live session. Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, second by Councillor Wells, that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas proceed in camera pursuant to Section 239 E, C, and V of the Municipal Act 2001, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, a proposed or pending acquisition of or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, and personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employee.
All heard the motion, those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.